Welcome to my channel Soft Feminine. But I never thought a simple joke could change everything. It was a quiet Friday evening. The laundry was done, folded neatly on the couch, and he, my husband, was lounging with that lazy, mischievous grin I've known for years. He picked up one of my dresses, twirled it in his fingers, and laughed. What if I tried this on? Just for fun. I froze. My stomach tightened, my pulse sped. Just don't, I muttered, half laughing, half unsure. But the moment he shrugged and disappeared into the bedroom, I felt a strange mixture of curiosity and dread. A few minutes later he emerged. The dress clung to him in ways I hadn't imagined. It swayed lightly with each step, catching the light, soft and delicate. My heart skipped. My mind buzzed. He looked different, softer, vulnerable yet radiant. His grin hadn't faltered, but there was a subtle shift in his posture, in the way his shoulders relaxed and his chest rose lightly with each breath. I couldn't look away. Something inside me stirred, an unfamiliar pull, a jolt of excitement mingled with fear. "It's cute," I whispered before I even realized it. The word sounded wrong, scandalous, almost as if I'd broken some invisible rule. His eyes met mine in the mirror, twinkling, teasing, but there was a hint of nervousness too. He spun once, letting the fabric flare, and for a fleeting second I didn't recognize him. The man I married was still there, yes, but this version, soft, luminous, undeniably alive, was something else entirely. I felt a strange ache, a curiosity that tugged at the edges of my mind. And in that moment I knew, this wasn't going to be just a joke. Something deeper had been revealed, something raw, intimate, and unsettlingly beautiful. I couldn't look away. I couldn't stop noticing. And I didn't want to. The next morning everything felt different. I tried to shake it off, pouring my coffee and flipping on the news like any other day, but his image, soft, twirling, alive in that dress, kept replaying in my mind. I caught myself tracing the line of the dress in my imagination, wondering how it moved, how it felt, and why it stirred something I couldn't name. At breakfast I noticed the smallest things. The way he sat, the way his hands rested on the table, the quiet grace he carried even in ordinary motions. "You okay?" I asked casually, but even my voice sounded strange, curious, almost probing. He smiled, a small, secretive smile. "Yeah, just fine," he said, but I could sense a subtle shift, something new, almost magnetic. At work it was impossible to ignore. The office felt tighter somehow, more charged. Glances lingered longer than usual. Whispers followed in corridors. I caught myself fidgeting, straightening my posture, adjusting my sleeves, but it wasn't me who felt exposed. It was him. "Have you been feeling all right?" one colleague asked, tilting her head. "You seem different today." I tried to laugh it off, but inside I was watching him through a lens I hadn't used before. Every movement he made, every gesture felt both familiar and alien. My mind kept returning to the dress, to the curve of his shoulders, the softness I hadn't seen in him before. Even the cafeteria became a minefield. I noticed the subtle reactions from strangers. A double take, a curious glance, a slight pause in conversation. It wasn't judgment, they weren't aware, but it highlighted the change, the shift in perception. And with each reaction I felt a mix of unease and fascination, an intoxicating pull I couldn't resist. By the time we returned home, the quiet of the apartment felt almost sacred. The folded laundry still sat on the couch, innocent yet charged with meaning. He glanced at it, eyes flickering, and I knew he was thinking about it too. "Maybe I'll try another one tonight," he said softly, almost a whisper. And I realized with a jolt that I didn't want him to stop. Part of me was afraid of what this curiosity might awaken, but another part, an electric, thrilling part, wanted to see where this could go. That night I watched him slip into the soft fabrics again, this time with more confidence, more ease. The reflection in the mirror wasn't just him. It was something more, something new, something neither of us had fully acknowledged yet. And as I watched, I understood that life as we knew it had subtly, irrevocably shifted. Later that evening, after the apartment quieted and the city lights flickered faintly through the blinds, I found myself standing before the drawer of clothes again. The fabrics called to me, soft and seductive, whispering promises of discovery. My heart pounded in my chest, equal parts fear and anticipation. I hesitated, fingers hovering over a pale lavender blouse, the silk cool and gentle against my skin as I lifted it. The skirt beneath, flowing and delicate, seemed to shimmer in the dim light, beckoning me closer. A shiver ran down my spine as I whispered almost to myself, just a peek, just for tonight. I stepped behind the bedroom door, shutting the world out, and slowly slipped into the clothes. The fabric slid against me, light and alien yet comforting. My reflection in the mirror made me catch my breath. The contours of my body softened, shoulders narrowed, posture shifted. The person staring back at me was me, yet completely new. Curiosity urged me further. I opened a small makeup bag and picked up a pencil, tracing my eyes carefully. Each line seemed to open something inside me, revealing a vulnerability I had never allowed myself to explore. A brush of blush, a touch of lip color, and suddenly the reflection was not just a stranger. It was alive, expressive, beautiful in a way that startled me. I experimented with my voice next. Softening my tone, elongating vowels, letting laughter slip free. At first it felt strange, unnatural, almost a performance. But with every word, every giggle, I felt more like myself than I ever had in plain clothes. I practiced a light, graceful sway, the subtle tilt of my head, the way I shifted weight from one foot to another. Every gesture was new, yet felt intrinsic, like I had always known them but never dared to act. I paused often, staring at my reflection, heart thundering, mind racing. Who am I becoming? I wondered. And yet the answer was both terrifying and exhilarating. I was discovering something that had always been inside me, hidden beneath years of routine, expectation, and restraint. Hours slipped by unnoticed. I whispered to the mirror, "Is this really me?" The answer was in the way my chest rose and fell, the way my fingers traced the curve of my collarbone, the subtle sway of the skirt. Yes, this was me. And yet it was more than me. It was a version I hadn't allowed myself to inhabit, a secret self bursting to be seen. I began small experiments with movement, turning, walking across the room, stretching my arms gracefully, noticing the flow of the fabrics over my skin. Each motion felt like a revelation, teaching me how to inhabit space differently, how to carry myself with subtle confidence and femininity I hadn't realized I possessed. Even the smallest details mattered. The way I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, the way I held a cup, the delicate lift of my chin. I noted everything, memorizing the rhythm, the cadence, the small perfection and imperfection. And then I laughed, softly, unguarded, like a sound I had forgotten existed. It echoed in the quiet apartment, mingling with the faint hum of the city. I felt a lightness I hadn't felt in years, a secret joy that was both mine and his, shared and unspoken. By the end of the night I collapsed onto the bed, exhausted yet electric. The clothes and makeup were no longer mere fabric and color. They were tools of discovery, of transformation, of freedom. And as I drifted to sleep, I realized this was only the beginning. The mirror had opened a door I couldn't close, and for the first time I wanted to step fully through it. The first weekend I decided to take a small step outside, my heart thundering like it wanted to escape my chest. I dressed carefully, reverently, in a soft pastel dress that clung lightly to my curves, paired with simple flats and a delicate scarf. Every movement in front of the mirror was rehearsed, measured, practiced. Yet my hands shook slightly as I zipped the dress and smoothed the fabric over my shoulders. Stepping out into the hallway, I paused, listening to the familiar sounds of our apartment building. The elevator ride felt like an eternity, every ding and buzz magnified, every step of other residents echoing like a countdown. When the doors finally opened to the street, I felt my pulse spike. The city wasn't just outside, it was a stage, and I was the reluctant performer, exposed and alive. At first I stuck to familiar streets, places I had passed 100 times in my neutral, invisible self. But now each sidewalk tile, each storefront, each flicker of reflective glass carried a new weight. I noticed glances, some fleeting, some lingering, and for the first time I felt the thrill of being seen, really seen, not as my usual self but as her. A small cafe became my first arena. I practiced casual movements, a soft sway in my hips, a light tilt of my chin, fingers brushing absent-mindedly through hair. My voice was gentle yet deliberate as I ordered coffee, and the barista's smile felt like an affirmation. "Cute dress," she said almost offhandedly. My chest swelled with an unexpected pride. That small acknowledgement validated hours of secret practice, whispered confidence into my trembling core. I began noticing subtle shifts in how strangers responded. People who might have ignored me before now lingered, offering brief smiles or polite conversation. I tested my boundaries carefully, initiating light chatter, laughing softly, allowing my gestures to flow naturally. Every small interaction was both terrifying and exhilarating, a test I passed with each breath, each smile, each shy laugh. Venturing further, I walked through crowded streets, the sway of my dress, the rhythm of my steps, the tilt of my shoulders. A choreography I was learning to embody fully. Some stares were curious, some skeptical, some admiring, and I realized the power wasn't in their approval, but in my willingness to inhabit this self openly, to exist fully without apology. I experimented with accessories, small bags, scarves, even the way I held a coffee cup, noticing how tiny adjustments could transform not just my appearance, but the confidence radiating from within. Each victory, however minor, fed a growing fire. I wasn't hiding, I was claiming space, learning how to move through the world as someone I had once only glimpsed in mirrors and secret moments. By the end of that first outing, I felt a dizzying mix of exhaustion and triumph. The city lights blurred in a halo as I returned home, heart racing with the awareness that I had crossed a threshold. I was no longer just the person in the apartment practicing in private. I was her in public, and it felt terrifying, intoxicating, liberating. The next weeks became a series of careful experiments. Small markets, bookstores, casual gatherings with strangers and acquaintances. Each outing built upon the last, layering confidence, patience, and subtle power. I discovered the delicate art of blending curiosity with caution, excitement with awareness, and fear with joy. Each step, each interaction, each reflection in shop windows became a teacher. I learned to inhabit her fully, to trust the rhythm of my body, the cadence of my voice, the sway of my gaze. And with each passing day, the thrill grew stronger, weaving itself into the fabric of my life, preparing me for the moment when the private discovery would meet public confrontation. By the time I closed the door behind me after a long day out, I wasn't the same person who had left. I was transformed in ways both visible and invisible, carrying with me a quiet, potent power. The knowledge that I could step into my truth, that I could exist fully, beautifully, fearlessly. It happened on a Thursday, ordinary at first, until the elevator doors closed behind me and I realized that the office would feel different today. I had been practicing for weeks, testing small outings, but nothing could prepare me for the tension that came from walking into my workplace fully as her. My heart hammered, each step echoing in the quiet hallway. I felt the subtle stares almost immediately, colleagues I had known for years now looking at me differently. Conversations halted mid-sentence, eyes lingered longer than polite, whispers brushed past me like a faint wind I couldn't ignore. Panic and exhilaration tangled inside me, each second stretching longer than the last. My manager, someone I respected deeply, called me into her office. Alone. My chest tightened and my hands clammed with sweat. Every instinct screamed at me to retreat, to shed the identity I had nurtured so secretly, to revert to the safe, invisible version of myself I had relied on for so long. But then I felt her, the confident, poised self I had discovered in mirrors, in empty streets, in whispered experiments. She was steady beside me, whispering, "You belong here. You can do this." My manager's gaze was calm yet probing. "I've noticed a change in you lately," she said, tilting her head slightly. "There's something different. Can you tell me?" I swallowed hard, my throat tight. Words felt like molten lead, impossible to shape. And yet I knew I couldn't hide anymore. The fear, the secrecy, the whispered self. Everything demanded acknowledgement. My voice trembled, soft but determined. "I've been discovering myself, who I really am. The way I move, the clothes I wear, the person I've been nurturing in secret. It's me. All of me. And I can't hide her anymore." The confession poured out like a torrent. Evenings spent experimenting, private triumphs, small victories in public, the thrill, the terror, the exhilaration of inhabiting a self I had denied for so long. I spoke of silk and lace brushing against skin, of mirrors that reflected more than just appearance, of voices practiced and gestures reclaimed. I braced for judgment, rejection, the cold slap of reality punishing me for daring to exist fully. Instead she nodded. Quiet, steady, supportive. "Thank you for trusting me," she said. "You don't need to hide who you are to be valued here. Courage matters more than conformity." Relief washed over me in dizzying waves. Tears threatened, not of shame but of release. The confrontation wasn't about their perception. It was about mine. I had stepped into truth. I had risked everything for authenticity. And for the first time I felt seen fully and without apology. The office felt alive now, not hostile, not uncertain, but real. I walked back to my desk with my head held high, each step a declaration. I was both terrified and triumphant, knowing that the path forward was mine to claim. After that meeting, everything changed. Walking back to my desk, I felt a new weightlessness, as though each step shed a layer of fear I hadn't even realized I was carrying. The office, once a place of cautious glances and whispered curiosity, now felt like a space I could claim fully and unapologetically. My posture shifted naturally, my head lifted, my movements flowing with a grace that surprised me. I noticed small acknowledgments almost immediately. A colleague offered a warm smile as I passed, and I returned it without hesitation, feeling genuine warmth swell inside me. Conversations began to feel lighter, more authentic. Questions were met with honesty, curiosity with understanding. The tension that had once pressed down on me like a heavy cloak seemed to dissolve. That evening I returned home and slipped into my favorite outfit. The soft blouse, the flowing skirt, the lace brushing gently against my skin. For a moment I simply stood there, letting the fabric settle around me, letting the reflection in the mirror remind me of who I had become. Every detail mattered. The tilt of my head, the sway of my hips, the gentle softness of my hands. I practiced my walk, my gestures, every movement now infused with confidence rather than anxiety. The days that followed became a series of quiet triumphs. I ventured to cafes I had avoided for months, sat in bookstores, wandered streets, all fully inhabiting her, fully embracing myself. Each interaction, no matter how small, a returned smile, a friendly comment, a gentle acknowledgement, became a victory, proof that authenticity could coexist with acceptance. Friends too began to notice. One evening, a casual dinner brought together a few people I had known for years. I expected hesitation, subtle judgment, or polite avoidance. Instead there was warmth. Genuine curiosity, open questions, laughter. "You look amazing," one friend said softly, her eyes bright. "Honestly, I can't believe you've been hiding this side of yourself for so long." Her words felt like balm, a recognition of the courage it had taken to emerge fully. I began to see myself in a new light. The reflection I had once feared now felt familiar, even comforting. Each gesture, each glance, each step reinforced the authenticity I had fought to embrace. I realized the clothes weren't just fabric. They were a language of confidence, joy, and freedom. The mirrors, the streets, the faces I encountered, they were no longer tests but companions in this journey of self-discovery. And slowly, I noticed an inner rhythm, a balance between excitement and calm, curiosity and confidence. The fear that had once dominated my every thought was now tempered by pride and exhilaration. I had learned to inhabit her without hesitation, to celebrate her without apology. The journey wasn't over, but I had taken ownership. I had claimed my space, my identity, my joy. Looking back now, I see it all clearly. The trembling first steps, the secret evenings alone with mirrors and soft fabrics, the thrill and fear of venturing into the world fully herself. Every moment was a thread in the tapestry of who I've become. I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's stepping forward despite it. Authenticity isn't easy. It's a daily choice, a quiet declaration that who you are is worthy of being seen. When I look in the mirror today, I see her, soft, confident, alive, and I see myself. There's no hesitation, no shame, only clarity and pride. The woman I once hid, the side I feared, is now fully embraced. To anyone watching this story wondering if they can explore the parts of themselves they've kept secret, take the first step. The mirror, the streets, the people, they're waiting. But more importantly, you are waiting for yourself. And when you finally meet, it will feel like coming home. Because self-acceptance isn't just a word. It's the life you've been longing to live.